to share this research.
I love that.
Yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm Jose Trujillo. I'm from Ecuador, and I've been working with sharks for a few years now. And before coming here, I was doing my research in French Polynesia, and I was specializing on predator and prey interactions. I was actually looking at sharks as prey and studying their abilities to escape predators. So with that experience, I thought like I could contribute to this project to understand this predator and prey interaction, shark depredation. So I've been with BTT for almost 2 years now. And tonight I will share you what we've been working on and what's basically our plan and some of the results that we have.
Great.
I'm gonna share my screen now.
Okay.
Does it work?
Yeah, I see your whole screen. Yep.
And now that's the presentation.
Oh, I see your whole screen. Still seeing your whole screen.
Wait,
Yep.
what about now?
I am still seeing your whole screen. That's weird. We just did.
Yeah, yeah, we just tested this. I'm doing exactly the same as before.
I see it like trying to like almost jump, like it's trying to go into slideshow mode, but it's not going there.
Hmm. Let me see what I can. Gonna try more times.
Let me try to remove your pin and see if that's what's doing it.
Oh wait, what
There
about
we
now?
go. Yep.
That won't work.
Yep, that worked.
Oh, perfect. Okay, there were like two presentations.
Right.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining tonight. And as I was saying, I'm gonna show you what we've been working with BTT about shark depredation in the Keys. So, as many of you know, this is obviously a conflict between sharks and humans, and I just wanted to introduce what is a conflict. And humans and wildlife have been in conflict for many years, and there's plenty of examples of these conflicts. And these usually emerge when wildlife cause some sort of damage to humans, as the most simple or simplified definition of a conflict. Like, for example, property damage or livestock predation. Actually, livestock predation is very similar to what we see in shark depredation. It's basically when a predator steals the prey that is owned by humans. In the case of shark depredation, is the prey that we have secured and we have in our line. So it's kind of our property. So that's why we think that there's some damage to humans. So shark depredation, but as you saw in these examples, or what we have learned from these many examples, usually they involve one predator affecting one human activity. But shark depredation is a little bit more complex like that. For example, in the Florida Keys, shark depredation is affecting multiple fisheries. So it's one activity, it's a fishing activity, one human activity, but there are multiple fisheries. And it also involves multiple predators. So it's way more complex. So how we study this very complex network of predator-prey interactions. They, we need to first do some sort of downscaling to what fisheries are affected, what shark species are involved, and where this is happening, so that then we can explore some drivers of depredation and use that for proposing some mitigation strategies. So to do that, we as PTT established a 3-year project with a co-production approach. I'm guessing many of you already know how that works because you know PTT, and this co-production is a way that we basically work with the fishing community together to produce local knowledge That was the objective of our first year. And we use that local knowledge that we get from you to inform our research. In this case, the research that we are doing this second year to study shark behavior. And then we are going to use this information and all that we have learned these 2 years to inform mitigation strategies in year three and test these strategies. So I'm going to show you what we have done in year one and two so far. So the local knowledge, probably many of you know that we started 2024 with an online survey to the inshore fishers in the Florida Keys. So we are focusing only in inshore fishing, not offshore. With this, we ask certain questions to get information and understand the situation, the shark depredation issue in the Keys. That was followed by a workshop in person with a group of 12 fishing guides where we explored the results from this survey and develop and explore drivers of depredation and develop hypotheses that we then use for a second year research. So what we wanted to know from this survey, first, which fisheries are most depredated? And we focus on the top 5 species targeted in the Keys, where juvenile tarpon and adult tarpon were considered two separate fisheries. So we focus basically on 6 fisheries. And we measure that damage that wildlife is causing, the damage that sharks are causing as depredation rate. And that is basically the percent of fish lost to sharks. That's this scale. And basically what we found is that snook and redfish are the fisheries experiencing the highest damage with mortality rates nearly 30%. The other fisheries have much less damage with about a 10% depredation rate on average. And also we found that multiple shark species were involved, with bull sharks and lemons at the top, followed by blacktips and great hammerheads. So probably this is information that you already knew because actually you told us this information. But as you can see, we have multiple species, multiple fisheries affected in different degrees and multiple sharks. So we wanted to know which shark is depredating which fishery. So where is this damage coming from mainly? So to establish those relationships between the two, we use a likelihood depredation, and we ask anglers in the survey to give us a score from 1 unlikely to 4 highly likely for these interactions between sharks and the fisheries. And we found that lemon sharks and bull sharks were affecting most of the fisheries, but lemon sharks were affecting mainly the snook and redfish fisheries, and bull sharks were targeting mainly snook and adult tarpon. And although blacktips were the third most common species reported, this species was only affecting snook and redfish, and they were less likely to target these fisheries compared to bulls and lemons. And great hammerheads, the fourth species, was mainly involved in the adult tarpon fishery. But where are these interactions happening in the keys? Where is this conflict happening in the keys? Is it equal across the keys? So for doing that, we use a map. It was actually not this map, but a satellite map in this um, online survey, and we asked respondents to give us the top 3 sites where they were experiencing depredation throughout the keys. But also we asked them to rate on a scale from 1 to 10 the conflict level of these locations, where 1 it means like depredation is not an issue, and 10 that is impossible to fish because of depredation. So the next maps that you're gonna see are using these two information. So with the first one, just with the locations, we found that the conflict areas were highly clustered in a space. Those are really these red areas, the hotspots. And I probably I'm thinking that you already know you're seeing a pattern here. And that pattern was that these conflict areas were highly associated with the fishing areas, like the flamingo area was associated with the snook and redfish area, and the breaches conflict areas were associated with the tarpon fishery. But not only that, these areas were also associated with important shark habitats. Like the snook conflict area was associated with the lemon shark, with a lemon shark important habitat, where lemon sharks have actually been recorded to be highly abundant since the early 2000s. If you see this figure on your left, this study tested the shark communities in different places around Florida Bay, and they found that lemon sharks were more abundant close to flamingo. And it's actually very well known that lemon sharks are the most abundant predator in the park since early 2000. Another example is the tarpon conflict area that is associated with an area that great hammerhead sharks are known to time their arrival with the aggregation of the tarpon, very likely to hunt them naturally. So what this tells us is that these conflict that encounters are not random. This is not just happening everywhere in the Keys, it's happening in specific places. So the conflict hotspots emerge when the sharks and the anglers concentrate their activity for the same reason, looking for prey. They could be looking for the same prey or different prey, but they are likely to be in these places for the same reasons. So two predators in the same place. But is the depredation pressure the same throughout the Keys? Is the same in throughout these hotspots? So that's where this conflict level comes. So we use that information in the same way as the locations, and we found that not all hotspots were the same. So as you can see, that area close to Flamingo is the one highlighted as red, which means that the highest conflict levels were reported in this area. That was about 8 in a scale of 10. So something else was going on here beyond that simple spatial overlap between fishing and sharks. So to understand what was happening in Flamingo during our in-person workshop, we asked guides to identify the main shark species that were involved in this area and to map the conflict areas for each of those species. And we found that two species, lemons and bull sharks, were the uh, responsible of depredation in these areas. But as you can see, the conflict areas for these species were different, where bull sharks were mainly active in the deeper waters to the Gulf, and lemon sharks around keys near Flamingo. But there was also a group consensus in this workshop, and it was that 95% of the interactions here seem to come from lemon sharks. So with that information, we decided to focus our second year in shark behavior on lemon sharks in this conflict area, in the Flamingo area. And we had like two hypotheses. One was that depredation in this place is mainly coming uh, from the number of sharks here. This is our abundance hypothesis. So basically, uh, more sharks, more depredation, and here every single shark is equally likely to depredate. And a behavior hypothesis where after or as a result of learning, a few individuals are the ones that are driving depredation in this place, and they are the ones that depredate the most. So not all sharks in the community are equally likely to depredate, despite having high abundance. So how we test this hypothesis? We're using different methods. We're studying the shark movements around these hotspots. So we have this high definition mapping of the hotspots in Flamingo, and we're tracking the sharks using acoustic telemetry. And we are also recording the interaction with boats and trying to assess local abundance. We're doing that with a mark recapture approach with highly visible external tags. Those are these color tags. Maybe some of you have already seen this. And also we are studying the diet of the sharks, of the lemon sharks, to see how much they eat this game fish. And we use different approaches. We are analyzing the blood and the muscle, and also, and those are the results I'm going to show you tonight. Um, we're doing DNA analysis of the feces of the sharks that allow us to know which species they're eating. So what will support these two hypotheses that we have? So if it's the abundance hypothesis, if this is just an issue of numbers of sharks, then we'll see that the movement of the sharks will be decoupled from the fishing effort or decoupled from these hotspots. We'll see low interaction rate with boats and low game fish in their diet. The opposite, movement coupled with the fishing effort, high interaction rate with the boats, and high game fish in their diet will support the behavior hypothesis. So we went out to Flamingo and we've been fishing this year to tag and sample the lemon sharks. And what we found is that this graph here shows the length of the sharks and numbers of sharks. And we found that all the sharks in Flamingo are juvenile, almost all of them. And this match with the reports from guides on the length that of the sharks that they predate. So on average, they are about like 6 feet long. And the estimated age for the average shark in this area is about 8 years old. Lemon sharks don't reach adulthood until about 12 to 13 years old. That is more than 8.5 feet. So we are seeing some individuals that are at that limit, so probably becoming adults, but most of them are under that size. So all juveniles. Most of them are females, 73% of them are females. So as I said, we've been tagging the sharks, and to track them, we install these acoustic receivers. And if you've been fishing in Flamingo, probably you already saw my buoys, these white and yellow buoys. Those are marking my receivers that are there to detect the movement of the sharks. And as you can see in this map, we arranged these stations in such a way that some of them were in the hotspots, so in the red areas, those are the white dots, and some were around the hotspots or actually outside, not really in the hotspot, especially the Flamingo channel. Those are the black dots here. So first we wanted to know how long these sharks, we had like 50 sharks tagged uh, in Flamingo, how long they stay here. This graph here shows the percent of days detected out of the number of days that they have been tracked. And what we found is that about 26% of the sharks only use Flamingo intermittently. And we found another group, about 38% of the sharks that rarely leave Flamingo. So they are detected more than 70% of the time. So we got these two groups, residents and intermittent users, and we compare their movements and see if we can see some differences. For example, at what time this group of sharks arrive to the hotspots. This graph here is showing time of day on the x-axis and the hotspot stations on the y-axis. So all of them are hotspot stations. And the dash line is the time that we learn most people tend to arrive to Flamingo. That's the average, more or less, time that the fleets get to Flamingo, 8 in the morning. And what you see here, these dots are the times that the highly resident sharks arrive to the hotspots. And as you can see, this matches pretty well with the fishing activity. It actually is would a couple of hours or a few minutes or an hour before the the fleets get to Flamingo. So they are anticipating the fishing activity. But the intermittent users, They do visit these hotspots, but their time of arrival didn't match the fishing activity. So this is something that we know as anticipatory behavior and is evidence that have been found in sharks that are highly trained to a stimulus, usually a feeding stimulus. They also show high fidelity to the hotspots. This animation here is the movement tracks of one single shark that we track for more than 100 days. And as you can see, the shark is coming over and over to the same hotspot, to Palm Key. It's leaving Palm Key, goes to the main channel. It visits other hotspots, but it mainly visits one of the hotspots, Palm Key. So high fidelity to these places. But are the lemon sharks that are using these hotspots using it for depredation opportunities? So are they here to eat game fish, or what we are seeing is just a normal behavior of the sharks? So to do that, we are using the external tags to record resightings of these sharks. And 28% of the tag sharks have been resighted. So they've been having interactions with the fishing fleet. We got 14 reports, of which at least two were depredating interactions. All of these resightings are from resident individuals, so those that are detected more than 70% of the time. Like this shark here that doesn't move too far away from Palm Key. It's been detected either physically caught or some interaction with boats 3 times in the same place in Palm Key, which shows a high interaction rate with the fishing fleet. But are these interactions to get game fish? So that's where our diet analysis help. So are they eating game fish? So for that, we need to understand what we know about the lemon shark diet. Studies from the 90s on lemon sharks in Flamingo show that they like to eat low trophic level, high, very abundant prey, like toadfish, pinfish, mullet. That is the natural diet of lemon sharks. Nobody have reported that lemon shark eat high trophic level and less abundant prey like game fish. They shouldn't be part of their, they are not part of their natural prey diet. So are they, what is happening now with the lemon sharks in Flamingo? What is happening with these lemon sharks in this hotspot? So this plot here is showing a list of species, prey species, and the probability of occurrence. And they are organized from the most probable to be in the diet to the less probable to be in the diet. And as we expected, mullet and catfish were the two top prey items, low trophic level species. But snook was the third most common diet item, a high trophic level species, a game fish species, which contrasts with the rest of the diet of the lemon sharks in this area that are all low trophic level species. So this is actually odd to find snook. You probably are not surprised because you know they are eating your snook, but this is not normal. This is not something that we expected to see in lemon sharks. We continue to analyze our the blood and the muscle samples that we have to further understand how important snook is in the diet of lemon sharks and if to see if that can help us identify if just a subset of the population is actually the one eating snook or is all of them. So in summary, what we have learned so far is that we have identified conflict areas in the Florida Keys. This is not random, and these conflict areas emerge when sharks and anglers overlap. But not all these conflict areas are the same. The damage that we see in these conflict areas is different, is fishery specific. And also the shark species that are involved in these conflict areas are different, which means the drivers of depredation are likely to be multiple and different across these hotspots. And so far, what we have learned from the behavior of lemon sharks, at least in Flamingo, it seems like a subset of the sharks, a group of the sharks are driving most of this damage. This have nothing to be with confirming if there's a lot of sharks or not, but it seems like a group of them are driving depredation. So year three, we hope to use this information from year one and two to plan our mitigation strategies. And at this point, we're in that transition time where we're planning our mitigation strategies. And hopefully, we're gonna meet again with a few of you to plan what we can do next year. We have some ideas, and we're gonna propose some ideas. Some of those are the use of deterrents, which I believe is going to be the most important approach to have here to break this learning cycle and avoid from more sharks to learn to depredate. And also, we have learned that a lot of this depredation mortality is coming post-release. So we're going to work to improve safe release practices for next year. And in the long term, we believe that it's going to be important to update the lemon shark stock assessment. The last one is from 2017. So we want to know what happened with the population from that time to now. Um, so I'm gonna leave it here. If you wanna, as I said, a lot of this research come from the information that we get from you, and we depend on your knowledge. So if you are fishing in Flamingo and you see a lemon shark with these tags, please report it to us. You can contact me on my email or go to BTT website or use this QR code and report it to us. You can report this even if you didn't get the colors of the tags. The order of these, the color of the tags allowed us to identify individuals. But if you don't see, you don't know the colors, at least tell us, I saw one of your sharks. We are the only ones putting these type of tags out there. And I'm gonna leave it here so you can have that information, and I'm open for questions.
Okay, so if anybody has any questions of Jose, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can type your question into the chat or the Q&A, or you can raise your hand and Jess and I will look through and we can bring you up on the panel and you can ask your questions directly of Jose if you want to, because some of you might have more complicated questions that you want to ask him. So while you guys are thinking through that or working through those options, Jose, I have a couple of questions just to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying. So when you say that there's a subset of these sharks that seem to be causing the issue, or some of the issues up there. And I think I've heard you say, but I would like for you to explain it in your own words. If we were to just get rid of those subset of sharks, that wouldn't necessarily take care of the problem because there's so many like juvenile near adult sh sharks there that they would just kind of step into that role. Is that the assumption?
Yeah, so actually, this is a really good question, and I have a slide for that. Oh, where is it? Just to explain it in a better way. And I stole this from one of the guys that told me to use this example so everyone understands more. And so basically, we have flamingo. There's a lot of flamingo sharks. We know that is highly abundant. So if this is a problem of just a subset of sharks, and we just do like targeted killing, I believe this is gonna have very little effects because there are so many sharks that those places, if you remove the problematic individual, you're gonna have another one waiting and using that place. It's like finding a place to park your boat in a marina.
Right,
There's so many people that all the marinas are taken. So you have to wait until someone dies for one of these spots to open free.
right,
But there's so many guides or fishers in the waiting list that that spot is not going to be open for that long, and it's going to be quickly occupied one by another boat that is in the waiting list. So that's why I believe targeting those individuals is actually not the best and it's not going to have long-term strategies. I believe the best way if to avoid with deterrence or other strategies from this group subset of sharks to keep depredating, but also to avoid these lots of other sharks that are out there learning to depredate. And let's remember that what we have found here is that all the sharks are juveniles. So these juvenile sharks are in that learning process and they're going to quickly learn to depredate.
Yeah, that's really fascinating to me. It's kind of like a a grooming situation happening with the sharks. I think it's very fascinating, and really good insight because I think natural instinct says, well, just kill the ones that are being problematic. But you're right, there's so many out there that could just step right into that role. So that's very interesting. Ross, you have joined the panel if you want to chat.
Yeah, no, I got a little more optimistic attitude toward a harvest management or removal strategy than Jose does. And I think that he's right. If you don't remove the stimuli, then this will happen. But so the question, what you need to do is take the problematic individuals out, and then with effective deterrent strategies, reduce these availability of these boat ramps in a way that kind of keeps that away. So I think given how detrimental this is to the issue, we should take risks with our management and our conflict resolution scenarios, um, and not just give up on an idea very quickly. So I'm open to killing sharks, and I think we should not throw that option off the table. And BTT is not by any means.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with Ross. What I'm giving here is just the information as a behavioral ecologist and I'm not the one who's taking those decisions. And I do believe that we need to be open to options, but this is what I have learned so far.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I wanted to bring up with you that came up in a presentation that you gave before was that, and you said it in this presentation, is that there hasn't been an update on lemon sharks on their population
So
status.
stock
So,
assessment, yeah.
a stock assessment, that's the appropriate term. So, um, how can we help with that? I mean, obviously it has to be put on a priority list from FWC, right? Is that the path that it goes on? And then is there a way that we can help provide support or, the like push to try to get stock assessments done of lemon sharks and others, I guess? Is there a way that you would suggest that we could help?
Yeah, I believe the best option is that you guys, as an association, you raise your voice and you speak with FWC to show that you guys need to learn more about the lemon sharks. The closure was in 2010, and you can raise your voice to say like we need to learn what happened after all these years of closure. And if we are going to explore this idea of harvest, we will need that information so that it can be open. So I think that's the best uh, approach and the first step that we need to take, that you guys need to take to yeah, to we need to learn about the shark population.
So Ross, or Jose, keep me honest in how that process happens. Does FWC put out a list at the beginning of the year or something where they put their species that they're recommending? Like, when is the appropriate time to do that? Is it any time, or do they do a certain time of year where they announce their list? I can't remember.
Oh, I think the first step, and Jose, you may have an answer for this. Did the stock assessment in 2017 pass the CDAR process? Did we ever have a legitimate stock assessment, or was there just a paper written doing a assessment? Those are
I
two
I
different.
don't I don't know the process, to be honest. What's the process here in the US for that? Um,
So I'll answer short. I don't think the stock assessment has passed the official review process in a very long time. So
Okay.
though there's a paper written about it. But yeah, to get to your point, Allison, it is a state managed species. So this does go through FWC, which is actually great. Um, but yeah, the first thing would be to advocate for it to being a priority species. And then,
Is there a time frame for that, Ross? Like, do they have, I feel like that there's like a time of year that they announce their priority species or something, but I could be completely off on that. Maybe it's all the time and it doesn't really matter.
yeah, no, I think it would be, I mean, obviously you want to look for political windows of opportunity to make a push for things. But those questions would be better asked to Kelly or somebody a little bit more in the know on that. But I think it's Jen, do you know, is it every year that they redo? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember having the conversation with
Yeah,
them
makes
about Jax last year, I think.
That's right. And I think they go by a calendar year, but I don't know how early else and they set those priorities.
I wonder if it's something I could reach out to Jessica McCauley about. Would it fall under her purview? Does it fall
That
under?
would be the perfect person. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I feel like that's something very easy that as an association we can help with. We do have a question from Ken, and he says, what is preventing FWC from more effectively managing the population of sharks in and around the Keys? Is it merely political, or are there also significant scientific questions that remain before amending policy?
I cannot answer that question. I guess that question will be to them. I'm sorry, I cannot answer that. I don't know if Ross, you have any ideas and knowledge about them, but I can unfortunately answer that.
It comes back to the question. We always focus on recovering animals, but we never think about the consequences of what happens when they are recovered. And the sharks is a great case study of that because we've never really done the research, the real hook and bullet research to inform a stock assessment, you know? So, like, I don't know if I'm answering the question, but because it's a data limited in that sense, it's hard to gauge, exactly what a harvest management strategy would look like. So, for instance, like for sharks that give 2 to 3 pups a year, and all of a sudden you change fecundity to 2 pups or 4 pups, you've like increased or decreased the public population by like 50 to 80%. Where for fish, like if you decrease to one less fish being born, like you have no impact on the stock. So you have to redo the entire modeling system, which is what's the Shark Act is one of their tasks will be to, revise them. How do you make a stock assessment appropriate for a shark? Um, I don't know if that answers the question, but for lemon sharks, given it's a state thing, a localized issue, there may be different pathways to approach this in terms of like a science-based trial fishery. I don't know. With the state, they're pretty creative on what we can and can't do. So I think there's more options there than managing, say, bull sharks or things like that that may be more federal.
Thank you. We have another question from Bob Begley. For many years, guides have killed sharks in several areas where they've been a problem. The guides anchor them in channels in hopes that they will make other sharks avoid the area. It does seem to help. His question is, has that been proven scientifically? Like, I guess where they, yeah, kill
So
sharks and either hang them out there or leave them out
there,
there. Does that
there is something that have been proven, and it's something that we call necromones. So basically is the flesh of a dead shark, and it is known to deter other sharks. When they smell a dead shark, they depart the area. So that have been tested, and we know that necromones have this deterrent effect on sharks.
What else are some other mediation tools that have been used? I think there's like electricity too, right? Or some.
Yeah, there's one that we hope we can get our hands on. It's been a little bit difficult, but it's one that basically produce an electrical field. This is called the shark shield, and it's been shown to be very effective. And I know of a researcher in Australia using this for depredation, and he found this haven't been published yet. This was like just a scientific presentation, and he found a 30% reduction in depredation when using that device. I don't know how he measured that, to be honest. This is just not a research that have been published or anything, but it seems like that one is super effective. So hopefully we can use it. Those electrical fields, what they do is they overwhelm the shark's sense to detect electrical fields. And it's strong enough to deter the shark from a significant distance. I don't remember exactly what's the distance, but I suppose of a magnetic device that the shark needs to be very, very close. This one was able to deter the shark a little bit farther from that deterrent. So basically, in simple terms, this one seems to create like a safe zone. This one was actually developed for surfing. So where you put this device under your boat, your surfboard, and it protects you around you. So there's been some research to actually understand how far that field goes. So because of that, it seems to be uh, like a good match with fishing because you want a protected area around your boat.
And it doesn't screw with the fish at all.
That will be a good question for us to answer next year. So far, it seems like it doesn't,
Okay.
but I've never tested them. The way they've been developed is to specifically affect this amply of lawrencine in sharks. Something that fish doesn't have, but I don't know if fish or snook are able to detect this by other means, and it will be something to look into next year. If not only if the devices work deterring the sharks, but if they affect or not the fishing.
Gotcha. Nick, I see that you're on. You have a question?
Yeah, quick question. First off, Jose, thank you so much for not only coming out tonight, but kind of going after this topic. It's like I'm trying to just download all this presentation the first time I saw it, and it's awesome stuff. Um, but just I don't know if you know the answer to this, but in terms of like black tip, you were talking about like trophic diet, like percentages in terms like whether they eat sport fish like primarily and lemon sharks like aren't supposed to. Off the top of your head, are black tips like their diet like kind of similar, or do they kind of eat or known to eat stuff like permit and bonefish and tarpon and
This is a good question. As far as my knowledge goes, I believe black tips are also sharks that eat small fish, especially mullet. Black tips are actually well known for following the mullet run and feeding on these big schools. I'm not sure if there's any study, to be honest, if they have found if they actually eat snook or redfish like that. Um, but it seems like they eat species like mullet too.
okay. I was just wondering.
And Jose, the going back to the fish that seem to be the problem children, the ones that the subset that seems to be the set that's causing problems, are they male or female? Did you say that, or do you know?
Yeah, I don't know if that group is male female because right now we are not that this is not a conclusion. Again, it's what it looks like in our data, but 73% of the sharks there are females. So in terms of probability and numbers, is most likely that most of them are females. Uh, but once we complete our diet analysis, I probably will have a better answer to that. And not only know if this is mainly females, but we want to know, are these the bigger sharks? The ones, yeah, that can compete and they're the biggest individuals. Uh, so hopefully at the end of this year, I'm gonna have more information for that.
Is it weird that there's so like that the 73% were females like that I mean, is it weird for it to be that high of a percentage, female percentage or no?
It's hard to tell. It doesn't seem very weird to me, but I think we were actually talking this with another shark researcher, and there's no norm really on those ratios on male female on sharks. But it seems like in some sharks, females tend to avoid males. This happens more when they are adults, especially because the reproduction in sharks is very violent, and the females actually have a lot of injuries after reproduction. But we're talking about uh, juveniles here, so it could be related to this, like just females avoiding more aggressive males.
And after you tag them, did you notice that I mean, is there any way to know if the tagging process itself was annoying enough to disrupt their behavior? Like them interacting with humans in that way, was that enough to disrupt them or no?
No, I haven't really seen much. After we release them, we detect them right away, and they seem to stay in that area, swimming normally, and we detect them in these places like right away.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions that I have. Ken thanked you and Ross for the answering the questions, and that looks like more science needs to be done for before deciding on a potential management plan, and we agree. Um, Last chance for questions. You can raise your hand, and I can bring you up, or you can type it in the Q&A. Otherwise, I think most of you probably already know how to get a hold of Jose. If you don't, um, certainly reach out to Jess or myself or Ross, and we can put you in touch with him. Um, and Jose, thank you so much for sharing your research and for all of this very thorough research. We can't wait to see how it moves forward. And um, if we can be of assistance, we want to be. So continue to lean on us in any way that we can help. We want to.
Thank you, Alison. Thanks for inviting us to present these results. And I again want to thank all the guides that have been helping throughout this project. All the information that I've shared. This is your knowledge, and you've been collaborating with us, and I believe this is awesome. So I want to say thanks to all of you for participating, and to the association for helping us reaching the guides for this project. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Ross, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say congratulate Jose on another great presentation and all the hard work that he's done to get us this far so quickly. And thank you, Allison, and everybody for attending.
Thank you so much. I hope you get a break in talking about this research, Jose, very soon. And
Soon, I'm gonna have a break, but I'm happy. I'm happy to do this. I
really
like
cool
my
stuff.
job, so
Awesome. Really cool stuff. Thank you for all that you do. We'll reach out soon. I'll start to work together on getting a letter or something in place to get to FWC so we can kind of push that along and see what the timeline needs to look like for that.
sounds great.
All right. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Good night.